Let's talk about how you can build a fashion brand from scratch that can charge premium price points. So in order to build a fashion brand from scratch and build a brand in general from scratch that can charge premium price points, still make sales, and have a loyal community of customers, you need to be so intentional about that from the beginning. From the get-go, this needs to be the plan, and everything needs to be carefully and thoughtfully and intentionally developed around that premium brand so that you can pull this off. And so the first thing I want you to think about is, what does premium mean to you? Because premium is kind of different from luxury. Because when we think about luxury, we think about like exclusivity, kind of like a snobby way, right? Like not in a very inclusive way, but just in a very snobby and accessible way. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because also on the flip side, luxury is synonymous with like higher quality, better materials, all this stuff. It's not always the case, but a lot of times in people's minds, like when they think of luxury, that's what comes up. Whereas premium, on the other hand, is not necessarily snobby or inaccessible. That's how I like to think of it. Like premium in my mind is just like something that's super high quality, very thoughtful, very intentional, and is more expensive than your traditional like fast fashion pieces or traditional like things that you don't really care about. So really think about what premium means to you and what you want it to look like for your brand. Because like I mentioned, you need to have the strategy from the get-go so that you can carefully and intentionally create this premium brand image so that you can command higher price points and still get customers. And so the thing about building a brand from scratch, whether it's a premium brand or whether it's a, accessible value brand, like you really need to be intentional from the beginning, like I keep saying, but also understand it's built over time. And not only is it built over time, it's built over consistency over time. So if you think about one of your favorite companies or one of your favorite brands, one of the reasons why you probably like it is because maybe like you align with their vision or their mission, or like you like their values. However, if they did something super different, then you may not like them as much anymore and you might be really confused. And the reason why you might like a brand is because they've built that persona or that personification of the brand over years. So let me give you an example, because this is maybe like a bit abstract for you. Think of your favorite clothing brand. Let's just pretend we all love, let's make up a brand, because I don't really want, like there's some brands out there doing a good job and then some brands not. So I just don't want to like drop any names, but let's make up a brand. Let's call it, brand X. Okay, so brand X, we love brand X, and it's because it's been around for 10 years. They do all this activism work. Their products are super high quality. A lot of them are versatile. You can wear them a lot of different ways. You love it. You can build a capsule wardrobe around it. Amazing. So brand X has built this over 10 years and it has a loyal following. What if the next day brand X launched a fast fashion collection where everything was like, $15, is made out of cheap polyester? Like, I think everyone would be really confused and then very outraged. And then very shortly after, I think people would think that brand X's values have changed, and then they will probably start to boycott it. The decades worth of time and consideration and everything that went into building brand X's brand, it would just go poof, it would just vanish. And then all the brand love that they've built up with us, like it would just all go. That is why it is so important to have brand guidelines. So you really need to think through like what your brand do's and don'ts are. You really need to abide by these rules. And if you think about it, I kind of talked about it a little bit already, but a brand is like personifying your company. Like it's what your company would look like and do and act if they were a person. So think through like, what are these person's values? What do they like? What do they not like? How do they talk to people? How do they treat people? Like really think about that and then develop your brand guidelines. Your brand guidelines are not just your logo, your font, your colors. Like that's just the tip of the iceberg. It's really about what you stand for, how you engage with your customers, all that stuff. It's really, really important you think holistically about all of that. And we actually have an entire module in our Launch Your Brand course that really walks through our clients through this, because building a brand is important. If you don't have a good brand, people are not going to understand necessarily why you're able to charge these premium price points, and you won't get people to buy. So the reality is like people need to stand behind your brand. They need to want to be friends with this person you're making, and they need to align with it. So you need to create strict brand guidelines, and you need to commit to adhering to them over time. Like I mentioned, a brand is not built overnight. If you think about some of your favorite brands that you like to interact with, like you've likely been following them for years or months or whatever it is. So it's built over time. And the other thing you want to think about is just everything in regards to your brand. So everything from, of course, the product, like the product needs to be high quality, it needs to charge like a premium price point to cover your margins and signal to people that this is not a fast fashion brand, like this is a premium fashion brand, right? So pricing is important. You want to also think about your packaging experience. Like you don't want to have all this plastic. You also don't want it to be very underwhelming experience if it is a premium brand. So think through the packaging. Think through the photography too, right? Like if you skimp out on photography and it's not like your photos are not giving premium, they're giving like fast fashion, like it's just going to be a disconnect, right? So you really want to make sure your photos are speaking. Like you want to make sure your website's reflective of your brand, your socials, like even the content creators or the influencers you partner with, like they have to be aligned with your brand. So every single thing in your business and in your brand needs to align with your brand guidelines. And so that is how you're able to charge premium price points and build a brand from scratch. It's not easy. It takes dedication. It takes a lot of, discipline to stick to your brand guidelines and do the thing that is best for your brand. Like a lot of times you may have to pass up on opportunities, or a lot of the times you may need to not take the easy route and actually make difficult decisions and spend more money and do all of that. Like it takes you doing that to be able to actually build a premium brand. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's easy because it's not, but it is worth it. So just make sure you build those guidelines, you're strict with it, and you do it consistently over time. That is how you build a premium brand from scratch that can charge premium price points. And so I just want to leave you with this final question that you should ask yourself. So once you've created your brand guidelines, ask yourself for every single decision, like, is this on brand? And you can think of your brand as a person. If that's easier, you can name this person and you can be like, okay, let's pretend like for the brand X brand that we created, the person's name is Thalia. So we can ask, hey, is this something Thalia would do? Is this something Thalia would resonate with? Is this aligned with Thalia's values? Like, if that makes it easier for you, do that. But just make sure you're super strict adhering to these guidelines, because I cannot emphasize this enough. The only way a premium brand is built is over time and with consistency. So I hope this helps you. It is so beautiful though when you can build a brand that is premium and people really resonate with it. And I just wanted to level set expectations to let you know that it does take time, it is hard work, but if you're intentional about it and you're really strategic, then you will be successful.